person, whatever the project is, first of all, your image must be clear enough. So that image should not have this blurriness, right? Similarly, it should not have any other components like, okay, I'm skipping the basics because there is less time. So I'll concentrate mostly on the main content of this session. So you need to do some pre-processing stages on that image. So like, once I capture the image, I need to apply some enhancement techniques. So these are the basic key processing stages in any image pre-processing steps, right? So these are all basically dealt in basic image processing, but I'm concentrating only on the two things, which is, suppose if I get any image like this, which is not clear at all, so you need to apply some pre-processing enhancement techniques and clear your image first before applying ML technique or DL technique. Okay, if you want to extract the features of this image, first your image must be clear enough. So apply any image enhancement technique on it, right? Similarly, sometimes the image might get distorted due to noise, right? So for example, the one which is shown here, this image is actually captured through a satellite, and due to some electronic noise induced in the satellite, there is an overlapping mirror image on the original object, right? So you need to apply some restoration techniques. There are lots of techniques to remove it. So you can apply any such restoration technique and remove that, and you can get your enhanced image, right? So before applying any ML technique or any DL technique, your image must be clear enough. So pre-processing is mandatory, right? So you need to apply any pre-processing technique and make your image clear enough. So these are the remaining things. We'll not discuss much on this. Now we'll go for vision. Now what is vision is generally what you see is your vision, right? So general, your environment, my eye. So when I look into any scenario, that is going to be captured through my eye, and it is trained through my brain, right? My brain trains that. Currently I'm sitting on front of my laptop holding a mouse in my hand. I'm dealing with the lecture. It is my understanding by looking at my current vision of my eye, right? Similar to that, if I make this to a computer, if that vision is sent to the computer, that means these two blocks, whatever we have here, this eye, this becomes your camera, and this brain indicates that you need to write a specific ML algorithms to make your machine learn, because this brain is something which is taking decisions based on its previous learning, right? Based on its previous learning, which has been done from thousands of months and thousands of hundreds of years, right? So now based on that 30 years or 20 years of experience, your brain is taking the decision. So that means your brain is learned, right? So that means if I take this into concept of ML, then the real-time scenario is captured through your camera, and your computer, which is ML based, learning based, machine learn based, or deep learning based machine, will take the decision based on the current scenario, what is going on in that video, right? So now instead of person, there will be a machine which decides whether how many persons have entered into that region and how many people are anomalies, right? All such intelligent decisions should be taken from this computer, right? Now this computer should be well enough to take the decisions correctly and accurately. That is why we need ML techniques and DL techniques. Actually, ML and DL techniques are meant to make your machine intelligent, right? To make your machine intelligent. So that means you need intelligence in my machine. Okay, so right, intelligence in my machine should be present. So now this is how your intelligent machine is generally. So any automated robot or your software can be treated as an artificial intelligence machine, right? It is not always a robot, right? It could be a software system also which takes intelligent decisions. So that machine or software should act act like these 4 properties, right? So system that thinks like human, so it should think like a human being and decide or take decisions accordingly, right? And it should also think rationally in the sense that it should not give priority to one and doesn't give a priority to the other case. So it should work rationally, right? And act like humans, think like humans, act like humans. Both should be there, right? Think rationally and act rationally. Both should be there. So if you follow, that means if your machine is satisfying these 4 properties, then it means that it is taking decisions intelligently, right? So to make them think and humans, according to the humans and rationally, your machine should incorporate machine learning techniques in it. Without machine learning, it cannot think, right? Without thinking, it cannot take intelligent decisions, right? So to make your machine think, you should incorporate ML techniques, right? That is the main aim of intelligence in your computer vision. Okay. Now this is what general overview of any artificial intelligence system. So generally, this is my system, computer. So it can take the data either directly through text data, it can take, or through sensors like light sensors, door sensors, and smell sensors, or whatever. So it can take the data directly, or through sensors, or through images in the sense that videos. Okay. Now once it has taken the data, you have intelligent machine here, which is incorporated with machine learning and deep learning, or ML or deep learning, any one. Then accordingly it is going to take the action to move or to text, to say hello, how are you, or you can close the machine, or whatever it wants to take as an output, it can do. Based on this input, it takes intelligent decisions. Based on that, it is going to take the respective action, right? So this is an intelligent machine supposed to be, right? Now how do we make such intelligent machine? So you need to do that as you need to have these 3 components. Obviously there were many lectures already gone through, so you might have got the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, right? So your machine to be intelligent, so it has to think. If you have to make the machine to think, then you have to make it learn. So that is why machine learning is required. Now if it has to learn, obviously it has to learn deeply. It's not an overview of something learning. So it should have a deep learning to increase much accuracy, right? So you need to have a deep learning techniques as a subset of machine learning, so that your machine intelligence increases at higher rate, right? So you can see the subsetness also. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and machine learning is a subset of intelligence, right? These 3 are inter and correlated with each other to increase the accuracy of the machine, right? Okay, now this is how your general overview represents. I think most of the lectures already covered on this topic, machine learning and deep learning. So you need to first extract the features, then classify, and then decide whether it is a car or not, right? So either you can apply ML techniques, or you can also apply deep learning techniques. Both are acceptable, right? Okay, now we'll see some of the ML techniques. Then I'll go with image classification problem and how those ML techniques can be applied in image classification problem, and how can we resolve some of the problems through DL. So there are 3 things to be discussed now, right? So now I'll first discuss what is ML technique. Now generally machine learning techniques are divided into 3 categories: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. Yes, supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. Now supervised approaches are those where you have already known information about the classes, okay, such as classification problems. All of them come under supervised. Now classification in the sense that, suppose if I have the images of okay, let me see the first one, classification itself. So now here, what do I say? Suppose if I have the photographs of some actors, South Indian actors and North Indian actors. Suppose I have two categories. Okay, South Indian actors and North Indian actors. I have two categories already known to me. They are well defined. Now suppose if any image comes in, new image, right? Now I have to classify based on that the features of that new image. I have to choose whether it is similar to North Indian class or to the South Indian class. So it will depend. Suppose if I have taken the Shah Rukh Khan image, suppose, okay. Now Shah Rukh Khan photograph I have taken. Now it is belonging to North Indian actors, right? Now you know the features already, right? So you are matching with them, and whichever it is suits most, so you are going to classify into it, right? So to identify the class of the query image, you know already the particular classes which are already defined. They are unique in nature, right? So if you know such prior information, and if you are doing such classification based on the prior information, then those algorithms are said to be supervised. Okay, that means some of the almost all the techniques of classification, almost all the techniques of regression, because you know already the information about the two classes or three classes or multi classes, right? So based on that only the query sample is going to be classified. So those all of them comes under supervised learning. Okay, supervised learning approaches. Now comes the unsupervised learning. Now unsupervised learning can be said as clustering. Okay, clustering. Now suppose let's say I have a group of 100 people in a meeting. Suppose there is a meeting going on where you have 100 people, right? Now I have to categorize them with the North Indian, based on the North Indian people, South Indian people, or some other category X, Y, Z. Suppose I want to group them into X, Y, and Z category. Okay. Now how do I decide it? Right. So I don't have any prior information about the participants who have participated in that meeting. So I'll be looking into the similarity of those individual people itself. Right. In that group, 100 people, I'll just look into the similarity among those 100 people, and I'll just group according to those similarities. Right. So like that, if I do, that means it is going to be a clustering. Right. For example, suppose I have a crowd like this. Suppose the crowd is like this. Now, in this, you can observe that I can make one crowd here and I can make one crowd here. So I have two crowds in that particular meeting. So this is how I can rate. So I have two groups in that meeting, who are actually standing in this here, and some people are standing here. So I have two groups, right? So now this is one perspective. One person can think there are two groups, but some other person can say, no, there are exactly 5 groups based on their distance, right? So if you see here in the second category, this is one group categorized, this is the second, this is the third. Similarly here, right? So it depends on human to human, the perspective, what you want to see the group related information. Yeah, hello. So it depends on purely on the group, what you want to look into the data clustering, right? So there is no prior information provided to group this data. You have individual data sets according to the similarity or the distance between the people. You are clubbing them either into 2 groups or into 5 groups, right? So now this is what the concept called as clustering. So all the clustering techniques like k-means, fuzzy c-means, and many other, all of them comes under unsupervised learning approaches. It doesn't come under supervised. Okay. Similarly, we have reinforcement learning as well. Now, reinforcement learning technique, ML technique, it is actually based on the environment. You have a software system design. Now, it will take the environment information, and accordingly it is going to take the action. Okay, it is going to take the action on the environment. Okay, kindly mute the participant who is creating some noise in the meeting. Fine. So now why reinforcement learning and so if you look into this, why reinforcement learning is required, you can see that in general classical programming, you need to follow a step-by-step process. But if I go for a machine learning technique, I can classify that there is a fire and going out. Suppose if I have step-by-step process is going to be taken place in reinforcement learning, in general classification problem. Okay. But if I look into the machine learning, it will as it takes the information. Yeah, hello. 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 Am I audible to participants?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Hello.
Hello, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
There is some
Audible.
noise coming up in between. Can you mute?
Yes, madam, you are audible.
Can you?
Yeah. I will say that, madam. Yes, madam.
Yeah, good. It's good that I am audible, but kindly mute that person.
Yeah. Vamshi Krishna is there. I think he is unmuted.
Okay, madam.
Vamshi Krishna.
So the machine learning.
Vamshi Krishna, please unmute.
Yeah, you just check in the background. If anybody's
yes,
mute is on,
yes,
you can simply unmute them. Okay,
yes,
mute.
madam. I have done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can also mute it as an organizer. You can mute the person. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I have done, madam. Please open your presentation, madam. I think.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so general classification problems. Okay. I think it's visible now.
Yes, madam. Yes.
It's visible.
Yes.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which are already trained. So ML based techniques, what they do, they just decide whether there is a fire or not in that scenario, and it just say, yeah, I can classify there is a fire, so you have to leave the room. Okay, you have to go out of this room. Only that is the information given from machine learning. But if I talk about reinforcement learning is something like which is trained already on the particular scenario, and it is going to look into the current environment and take accordingly the decision, like most like human. It's not like a robot. It is more like, it's most like a human behavior. So what it just say, if there is a fire in the room, just leave or run out of the room. You have to save your life. So your life will be saved only when you run out of the room. This is not done by the machine learning technique. Okay. But if you talk about reinforcement learning, because it has a learning capability as well as the knowledge capability. So that's why reinforcement learning methods are more getting appropriate or applied very highly in the current ML based applications, right? So ML with the reinforcement learning will give the better results in comparison to general classification problems. Okay, so always focus on reinforcement and machine learning. If you want to think about the programming in which has to take actions accordingly, and it has to take according to the scenario, the current scenario of that particular scene. Okay, fine. Now various ML techniques, you can see these are the various ML techniques: decision trees, Naive Bayes classification, SVM, random forest, linear regression, and many more. So I think most of you have gone through these algorithms already in your previous lectures. right? In your previous test, you might have gone through all these methods. So I'll just have a quick brush up on this. So classification indicates that classification via decision. So that means first of all, you need to have two things to make your machine to train. In classification problems, you need to have two things. One is the training set, another one is the test set. Okay. Now I have the attributes. I have the term training data and the test data. If you observe here, I have some tuples, attribute 1, 2, and 3, and there is a class, right? So now there are only two classes if you observe, yes and no, right? Only two classes are present in this classification, right? So now my training data is used for build the model. Now this model can be using any ML technique, like what I have shown in this particular screen. These are various and many more are there. So you can use any of the ML technique based on this feature vector and train your model. Once your model is trained or built, you can test your machine through test samples. Now you can observe the test samples doesn't have a class defined, right? The labeling for the class is not present. So you need to classify them. So for that, you can apply this model. You take this model, apply on this test data. So now it will classify whether first row belongs to yes or no, whether the second row belongs to yes or no, third row belongs to yes or no accordingly, right? So like that, you need to decide which particular row belongs to which class. Now let's see how this train model is built. Okay. Now first one which we were looking into the example was decision trees. Now decision tree is based on a concept of constructing a decision tree which are based on the certain rules formed from this training data. Okay, this decision tree is constructed based on the rules which are from this particular training data, right? So I have certain rules like if refund is always yes, then always the class is belonging to no. So if you observe, what is the refund column? This is my refund column. So if you see, whenever the refund is yes, the column for classification is no. Whenever the refund is yes, the column for classification is no. Whenever the column of refund is yes, the classification is no. Now you can simply write a rule. If refund is yes, then class will be no, right? This one rule. Now one rule will become one path in your decision tree. Okay, one path in your decision tree. So you can see refund is yes, no. So this is one path. Okay. Now like this, we got one path. Based on one rule, we have one path. Right. Similarly, suppose if I want to take another example, when refund is no and marital status is married. So let's say refund is no, marital status is married. The class is again no. Right. This is another rule. When refund is no, marital status is married, the class is no. So similarly, you can observe wherever you have no and married. So no with married, the class is no. No with a combination of married, the class is no. So always this satisfies in this particular training set, right? So we have another path in the decision tree. Refer no, marital status married, so the class is belonging to no. Right. So like this, you need to find out all the rules for on this training data. Now you combine all of them and make a decision tree. Right. So this is our decision tree. Right. This is our decision tree. Now you can ask me one question, right? Do we have only one decision tree always for a given training set? Because you have many columns, right? In your training set, right? You will have many columns. It's in this example, I have shown only 3. But in real time, you might have 100, 200, 1,000, and so on, right? So you might get different decision trees, right? So based on the different rules. So let's say for the same example, you can have different decision tree also, like this. Okay? There is another decision tree. So like this, there could be more than one decision tree which fits that particular training set. Right? So if you have 5 different decision trees, you need to choose the most appropriate one which satisfies all the rules of that particular training set. Right? So decide one among them and train your model accordingly to classify your tuple. right? So now let's say if I want to I have decided the decision tree. Now let's classify. So I have designed the model based on that decision tree. Now suppose if I have a test data like no, married, ATK, right? So first I need to check what is the refund value, no. So it is going to the right sided path, right? Once it is no, I'll check for marital status. So now marital status, it is going to go for married. So now the class is no need to check this one because the rule defines if it is refund is no and the marital status is married, the class is going to be no. This is a fixed rule in decision tree, right? So like this, you can apply decision trees in almost all your vision-based applications, also in non-vision based applications also, right? I'm giving here just an introduction of ML technique. Only two techniques I'll be discussing. That is Dale and K nearest neighbor. The other one. So these two are only to explain that how, if you have already the feature set with you, how we can classify that, right? So you can construct either deep learning technique, decision tree technique, or Bayes classifier. Now Bayes classifier is another approach. We use the concept of based on the probabilities, okay, based on the probabilities. So now suppose if I'm taking the same data, now it has to first find out the probability of class yes and class no. Okay, so now we observe there are 3 yeses and the remaining 7 are no's. So in among the total classes, no probability is 7 by 10, yes probability is 3 by 10, right? 3 by 10 and 7 by 10. Like this, I need to find the probability for each and every field, right? When refund is yes, what is the probability for no? When refund is yes, what is the probability for yes? So that means yes with the combination of no, yes with the combination of yes. Similarly, marital status, you have here 3 individual things: single, married, and divorced, right? What is the probability of single for the class no? What is the probability of single for the class yes? Okay. Similarly, what is the probability of married with class no? What is the probability of married with class yes? Same with the case of divorced. So that means for marital status, you will have 6 different values, and for refund, you will have 4 different values. Okay. And similarly, if you have any field which is of numeric, then you need to apply, you cannot find the probability for numerical values. Then you need to find out the normal distribution like this. Okay. Based on the mean and standard deviation. Okay. I'm not going to into depth of it right now, but like this, you can identify for non-numerical values. For numerical values, the probability can be found accordingly, as I said, right? So income 120 for the class no, similarly income 120 for the class yes. So based on this formula, you need to find out its probability. Okay. So find the probability for refund, find the probability for this, find the probability for this, then find the probability for class yeses and no's respectively for numeric and non-numeric fields. Now let's say we have found all those probabilities. Okay, we have found all those probabilities. Now you can observe, I have a query here to be refund is no, married, and income is 120. This is my query sample. Whether I have to decide whether it belongs to class yes or class no. Okay. So first I think I have to find the probability of refund with the no for yes and no. So I have here refund with yes 3 by 7. Refund for no with the no, it is 4 by 7. So here it is refund no, so I am taking 4 by 7, not 3 by 7, because I am taking for the class no. Okay, 4 by 7. Similarly, for married is given here. So married with the status no, married with the status yes. So married with a no, it is 4 by 7. So I have taken here 4 by 7. Right? Similarly, for mean values of non-numerical values, already we have calculated in this previous slide. If you observe, it is 0.0072 with the mean and variances. Right? So the same thing has been applied here. So I'm taking the multiplication. So my total probability of this particular test sample belonging to the class no is 0.0024. Okay. Now similarly, I need to find that this total query sample belonging to the class yes. What is its probability? That I need to find. So you can see here refund is given as no. So whether refund with a no and yes combination, you can observe here the probability is 1, right? So 1 into married is given as yes. So if you observe here the married for the class belonging yes, the probability is 0, right? So we have taken 0. So something which is multiplied with 0 is always 0. So the probability of this particular test sample belonging to the class yes is 0, right? So for this sample, for no class it is 0.0024. For yes class it is 0. So finally I can take the decision that among these two, the maximum whichever it is, so it is belonging to the no. So that means this tuple belongs to the class no. It is classified to the class no. Okay. So like this ML technique works, right? So I think you have understood now ML technique. Okay, first let me complete this. K-means also. K-means I think most of you already know. So I'm not going into depth because it's most of the people already know. It's one of the basic techniques of classification, clustering approach. So I'm skipping it right now and we'll just go directly to image retrieval concept. Okay. Now if I talk about image retrieval, the main concept or main agenda, what you'll say is I have thousands of images on the server side. Okay, on the server side. So suppose if from this I want to track only the bird images. Okay, I want to display only the bird images. Then you can observe this is the one such image which satisfies. This is one such image which satisfies, and I don't think any other birds present here. So now these two bird images are said to be positive samples for my query, and the remaining are okay. This one also, right? So only the particular 4 images belongs to positive samples of birds, and remaining are not birds. So I can say those are negative samples for my query. Okay. So in Google, when you type bird or something, then you will get all the bird images in Google image search. I'm talking about the image search, right? Now, when I type the text bird, so you'll get different birds images, right? Similarly, if I type rose, R-O-S-E, I'll get different types of roses, right? So now that means I'm searching images based on the key, right? Key, text. So now that means image search or image retrieval, what you say, it is actually can be categorized into 2. One is text search, another one is object search. Okay, text-based searching and object-based searching. Now, text-based searching, whatever you do on a Google, general Google. But if I talk about object-based searching, then you need to think about in the same Google image search, there is one option to drag and drop an image which you want to search for. Okay, which you want to search for. So, in Google image search, you just drag and drop any image whichever you have on your desktop or on your PC and click on search, right? So it will display the most of the images which are most similar to that query image, right? Now we didn't type any text. It is taking the comparison of the image content with the data set image contents, right? What do you have the features of the query image with the features of your query data set images, right? So now this is what called as content based search. Okay, rather than text, you're actually looking into the main pixel values of that image. Okay, whether it could be a color, whether it could be an edge, whether it could be a shape or whatever. But we are actually looking into the content of that image rather than text. That is why the approaches of such kind are said to be content-based search. So as an in research, it is given the name as content-based image retrieval. Okay, content-based image retrieval is a term given. If you type on a Google, you will get lots of articles on that particular topic. Right, that is what we are going to deal today. How do we do CBIR using ML, and how do we do the same with a DL technique? Okay, now suppose if I have, now what is a content refers to? Now content refers to is, suppose I have one image like this. Now what is the content in this image? If by looking at a visual eye, suppose as a human is looking at it, he can say that there are some flowers in the water and there are certain green leaves which are floating in the water. Right, water pond. It's a water pond with a tree and which has flowers which are in color of lavender. Right, so like this is my human understands about this image. Now, but how does the machine understands about it? Machine should also understand that there is a water pond, there is a flowers in that, and there are the leaves which are in green color, and also on. Right, now this is how you need to train your machine. Now this is what called as the content of that image. Right, now to make that content learn by the machine, you have lots of methods. Okay? Now those methods could be many. So those methods can be like your gradient histogram. Right, gray histogram can be done, and color histogram can also be used. Object description can be used, texture features can be used, edge information can be used, and many more. Okay, texture, shape, and color are the most prominent features used in CBIR machine. Okay, CBIR machine. These are the most important feature extraction methods. Okay, okay, fine. So let's see how does it work in real time. Suppose in Google search, I've given this image as a query. I'm not typing, I'm giving the input as an image. Okay. So I've given this image as an input and just dragged and dropped on the Google. Then I clicked search. Then I've got this particular result. I have got around 8 or 9, 10 images, or many more actually. I've taken only the top 10 images here, 10 or 12. So I see that I have given the red rows, and always I got a red rows images. There is a single or multiple, but I got only red rows images. Right, now among them, what is the most similar to the query image? This one. And second similar is this. Third similar is this. Right, so now the most similar is not coming at the first stretch, but it is there in the results. Right, now what do you think the approach used here for content matching? Right, the content matching approach, what it has might have used is only color, right, because it didn't look into the shape. Agar if it was looking at the shape, then this would have come on the first. Right, but it did look into the shape concept. It just looked into the color. That is why we have got this image at the last rather than the first. So it has looked only into the color concept. Right, okay, fine. If the color is used, obviously I'm getting the red roses, so it is okay, acceptable. Right, but is it good to get your search machine to be on the color machine, only on the colors? Not obviously. So if you observe another query which is also on the color concept, so you can see here there is a color. I have given the query image to be a car image, and I'm searching on the Google search. Now I got all these images. Right, color based search, only on color I'm searching. Right, so I have here multiple images which are of color. You can see I have false positives also. Okay, false positive, it means it is a false image but came into a positive into my result. So you can observe that this frog is a false positive, this chair is false positive, this aeroplane is false positive, this bus is false positive. Similarly, these roses are also false positives. Only true positives are only these two. Okay, so like this I'll get if I'm searching only on color, again I have a problem. Similarly, instead of color, if I go for texture also, there will be a problem. Now texture in the sense that there is a unique pattern followed on for the particular cells. Suppose if I given this query, you can observe that this particular diamond pattern should be there in the retrieved images. And you can see this is okay, acceptable. This is also okay, acceptable. This is acceptable, but this is not acceptable. It is not relevant to my query. Right? This is not relevant to my query. This is not relevant. This is irrelevant, completely irrelevant. This is okay at some stretch. You can say okay, 50% similar. This is a completely irrelevant for my query image, right? So based on the texture also, you might not get right results, right? So color is failing, texture is failing. Similarly, shape might also fail in some cases. Like suppose if my query is this, and these are all the retrieved images, you can observe the shape is matching only for this object, but remaining objects is not matching, right? So like this, the shape might also fail. Right now, what do I do? What do I do? Then I can go for another advanced concepts which is widely applied in image retrieval, that is SIFT, Scale Invariant Feature Transform. Okay, this is widely applied in image retrieval applications. So you can go with this. I'm not going into depth, but it is also one of the feature extraction approach. What it does is, what it does is you have your image in a form of a matrix, right? So I'm taking that matrix. Now I'll take a particular cell which is of size 16 cross 16. That means 16 rows and 16 columns. Okay. Now from this 16 rows and 16 columns, I have a matrix generated. I'll identify the orientations. Now you can observe some arrows in these blocks, right? Some arrows that indicate this pixel is going towards the right diagonal parts towards the down, right? This particular cell intensity is going towards the diagonal towards the down, towards this direction. And this actually shows the direction or orientation of that pixel. Okay, orientation of that pixels. Now that pixel orientations generally, so if I talk about the 16 cross 16 window, it is further divided into 4 cross 4 windows. Now for every 4 cross 4 window, you need to create one histogram, right? One histogram. So for this particular 4 cross 4, that means 4 for the 16. So 16 values are defined here with its histogram. So histogram, we have taken the directions. So generally the directions we can take, you can fix either with the 4 directions or with the 8 directions. Okay. Now suppose if I take 8 directions, then for each block there will be 8 values, right? So totally I have here 16 blocks. So 16 into 8. So I'll get 128 features for one block. Okay. 128 features for one block, right? So like this, you estimate the blocks of the features, and then you work on machine learning technique, any ML machine technique on this extracted features. Okay, let's see how it works. I'm skipping this basic. First, we'll look into the concept first. Now, suppose I have to, this is my flow chart. So I want to apply image classification or video classification. So video classification is generally the combination of all the frames of that image. So you have to do whatever process you apply on image, the same thing applies for the video, but you have to work on many sets of images for one video, right? So that is the difference. That means it is going to be have high complexity. Other than that, if you understand image classification, that it is well and good that you can work on video classification as well, right? Prior, you need to apply some modified algorithms on it. Okay. So suppose if I'm talking more about image classification. Now in image classification, I have images of different classes. Like say sunflower, I have 1000 images. Buddha, I have 1000 images, and some trees, I have 2000 images, right? Now, what my image classification machine does, I have all these categories of images. Now I have to extract the features because image matching is not done. right? If I do image to image matching, then obviously its matrices size, color images are there. Now, as I told you, color image pixel to pixel mapping M cross N into 3 have to be mapped with query image M cross N into 3. And the data set, suppose if I have 1000 images of sunflowers, then the time complexity would be M cross N into 3 of 1000 images, right? It is a huge complexity. So you need to take the features of that image. That means you need to extract the features of this image in some vector form, right? Now, once that is what I told you. Now, there's all these methods, color-based image. What all methods I've discussed just now: color feature extraction, texture feature extraction. Similarly, the other one, SIFT-based feature extraction. So these are some of the methods which extracts the features from the image. Okay. Now, once a feature vector is ready, now this feature vector must be, generally the feature vector will be of a size M cross N, okay, P cross Q. I don't want to make any confusion. So if the size of the image is M cross N, the features of that image would be P cross Q, where P and Q will be in very less values like 10 or 50, less than 50. Okay. So I have this feature vector. Now, on this feature vector is actually having P cross Q values, right? Now, this P cross Q values of query image should be mapped with P cross Q values of test image. Again, it is a complex one, right? So that is why we represent this feature vector size as a shorter one by making a clustering. Now, this clustering is done actually in classification approaches. You can say fusion of feature vectors. There are two terms used technically in research: fusion of vectors, and other one is bag of words. Okay, both the techniques are applied. Those both are explained in these slides. You can go through them. Okay, and still, if anybody faces any problem, you can contact me on my mail. Okay, so you have you have the feature vector. On this feature vector, you need to represent them in a shortest form so that the comparison becomes easy. So for that, you can apply fusion techniques, or the bag of words technique. Okay, apply them, and you will have one single representation of one row vector representation of one image, right? So that means if I have 1000 sunflowers, I'll have here 1000 rows indicating one row for one image. Okay, I think it's clear now. So now on this 1000 rows of sunflowers, 1000 rows of Buddha, 1000 rows of tree, I'm going to apply a classification approach, right? Now, this classification approach could be ML based technique. Now, that ML based technique can be a decision tree. Just now I've showed you how decision tree works. So your feature vector is ready with you, apply decision tree on it, right? Your feature vector is ready with you, apply Bayesian classifier or support vector machine. Any other vector machine, any machine, whatever you want to apply, you can apply on that particular feature vector which is generated. Okay, so now ML is applied here. It is not applied in these cases. Hopefully now we have understood what is ML and where do we apply ML, right? So for image classification problem, I can apply ML techniques or DL techniques. So ML technique can be applied only when the features of these images are ready with me, right? So you need to apply one of the feature extraction approach. Once it is done, represent them in shorter form using any one of the approaches, then apply the ML technique so that you will get the classification accurately, right? Again, this classification accuracy will be varying according to the ML technique what you have chosen, whether decision tree or support vector machine or any other approach. Whatever approach you have chosen, accordingly the results will vary for classification, right? Let's see one approach which one of my students have done on this particular topic, one paper. So you can see here an efficient image classification using bag of words on surf texture features, right? So same approach, same thing I've done with the ML technique only. I didn't apply deep learning technique in this paper, right? So if you see, I have category 1, category 2, category 3. I have here multiple images, right? As I said, I need to first apply enhancement and normalization, noise reduction. So we have done here pre-processing first. Okay. Now once pre-processed, I need to extract the features. So I have extracted the features using two approaches, SURF as well as texture. Okay. Now we have taken the fusion of these two. We have taken the fusion of SURF features as well as texture features, and we have represented them in a form of bag of words, as I said in the previous slide. Right? You have here many P cross Q features. So those P cross Q features we have represented in 1 cross X or 1 cross T. Okay, using bag of words representation. Okay. Now we have for one image, one row vector, one row feature vector. Right? So once it is done, I'm training that with support vector machine, which is an ML technique. Okay. I know the prior information, so it is support vector machine comes under classification approaches and supervised approach. Okay, it comes under supervised approach. Now I have designed my model on this features extracted through support vector machine ML technique. Right, my model is ready now. Now once my model is ready, I need to test it. So I have a query image, same process again. I have to apply pre-processing, then feature extraction, then bag of words conversion, and then once my query feature vector is ready, then I'm matching with my model, support vector machine. Now this is going to classify whether this query image belongs to category 1, category 2, category 3 or category N. Right? In this case, this particular query image belongs to category 1. Okay. So like this, you can classify your images through ML techniques. So whatever approach you apply, data set is going to remain the same or data set could be different. The pre-processing techniques will be different. Feature extraction techniques will be different. Bag of words construction or feature fusion, whatever approach you apply, it is going to be applied. Then your machine learning techniques comes here. Okay, you apply your machine learning technique, whether SVM or decision tree or k nearest neighbor or Bayesian tree, Bayesian network, any method, whatever you want to apply, artificial neural network, anything. I'll just neural network can also be applied here, ML technique. So you can apply any of such techniques to classify your images. Okay, this is all about ML technique. Right now, let's see what is the accuracy I got. I got the accuracy for only texture, I got 82. When I used only SURF, I got 88. But when I used combination, my accuracy got improved. For all of them, machine learning technique, what was used is support vector machines only, SVM. Okay, we got the accuracy as 94%. Right? So now still it is less because I need to get around 98 or 90, above 95 I should get the % accuracy. Then only I think my machine will give better results. So we have gone with, instead of simple ML technique, I have gone with a deep neural network. That means ML technique is also a technique which learns based on the data. Right, based on the data provided, it is going to learn. I have a knowledge, but I need to have a deep knowledge. Right, I have a knowledge of learning, but I need to have a deep learning. Right, so then we have modified the same model with a deep neural network. Okay, so we have published another article using the same data set, but by applying deep neural network architecture. That means I'm using now deep DL technique. Right now, what happens when I apply DL technique is, I'll just go back to the same thing. So, okay. So now we have, what is happening here is I have again the same data set. I have to do the classification and have to get my result. Right. But in these 3 steps, I need not do the feature extraction block. I need not do this clustering block. I need not specify a classification approach. That means I have the input data set. I'll have only one model here. Instead of 3 different feature blocks, I'll have only one block when I apply DL technique. Okay, there might be, I think in your previous lectures, you might have gone with deep neural network architectures like AlexNet, GoogleNet, convolution neural networks, right? So if you apply, that means I'll pass all of these images directly to convolution neural networks. Now this convolution neural network, that means CNNs, are capable enough to extract the features, to represent them in a particular format, and then also classify. Okay, so CNN models are capable to do these 3 steps as a whole soul, right? So we don't have these blocks individually, all of them are combined in one block. Okay. Let's see how it works. Deep neural networks. So you can observe, I have some data set, category 1, category 2, category 3. For understanding, we have shown here with numbers, right? I have different classes. I've done pre-processing first, then directly we applied to convolution neural network. We didn't extract any block of features. We didn't had any clustering approach. We didn't had any classification block. All of them are inbuilt in CNN here. Okay. So I'm not going into depth of CNN in today's lecture, but CNN is capable of doing all of them. It works on block. It works on block by block on the image, and then it continues to the end of that block. Okay, it extracts features block by block, right? Then it's a train model. So you have built a train model. Then you need to have a query image at the end and then test accordingly on that trained model, right? So let's see. This is how the model is. So my input image is of this size. Now you have many convolution layers, pooling layers, and ReLU layers, and fully connected layers. I think there you had other lectures which has discussed enough on this particular model design, convolution neural network design. So based on them, you can design a particular neural network, convolution neural network, and extract the features and classify them accordingly. So now what happens when I apply this one? You can see the results here. For Cypher 10 dataset, I got around 79%, and for MNIST, it is 99% accuracy, if you observe. Right? Same with the case of other datasets, you can see 92 and 95. Right? So like this, the accuracy got increased much in comparison to ML technique. But ML technique, this doesn't mean that ML technique is wrong. The thing is that what feature extraction approach you are using based on your accuracy depends on ML techniques, right? Similarly, in DL techniques also, you have different convolution layers, right? So your accuracy will depend exactly on what layers you have formed, right? That is why if you observe the literature also, AlexNet is good for some data sets and it is not good for some other data sets. Same with the case of all the deep learning CNN architectures, right? So some layers are suitable for certain data set and some layers are not suitable for the other data set. So you need to modify those layers according to your data set, adaptive to your data set, so that the accuracy increases in the classification. Right? So simply blindly using the available ML techniques or available deep learning techniques will not give you the better results until and unless you know how the layers are formed and how those layers are taking the features. So you need to have an expertise, or you need to have a trial and error basis on modifying those layers. Then only you'll get good results for classification, either in image classification or in any others, right? And one more thing I would like to conclude here, that ML techniques can be applied in any field if provided if you have the feature vector. Okay, provided if you have the feature vector. But deep learning techniques can be applied only for images. Remember that. Deep learning techniques can be applied only for images because it takes block by block feature vectors. Right? Features on block by block. So you have to work on a matrix. So matrix are generally for images, right? So deep learning techniques are applied only for images. If you want to apply deep learning techniques in any other field of DNA sampling or speech signal processing or any other, then you have to represent your features in form of a matrix. Okay, you have to represent your features in form of a matrix, then apply deep learning techniques, it will give better results. But directly you cannot apply on the features what you have for different applications. Okay, then fine. This is all about from my side. If anybody has any query, we can discuss for 5 minutes, then we can close this session. Over
Madam,
to the coordinator.
Yeah, madam. Thank you very much, madam. We have had a wonderful session. Sorry for the delay, madam. Actually, morning session was slightly delayed because sir came around 10:30 for the class, so it has been delayed by half an hour. Sorry for that. And thank you for acceptance for
It's
giving this
okay,
lecture,
fine.
madam. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, madam. Participants, if you have any ambiguities or questions, please ask, madam.
Welcome. Thank you. I was honored to give a session on this.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. So, anybody?
Okay, thank you. I think nobody has any queries.
Once again, thank you very much, madam. Thank you.
Thank you all the participants for patiently listening even after the post. This is actually the lunch time, but you have made yourself available to listen to my class. Thank you all, coordinators as well as the participants. Okay.
Thank you, madam. Thank you once again.
Fine. Okay, I'm leaving now then.
Yes, madam. Okay. So next session will be started by 2:15. So please all of you ready by 2:15. Thank you.